Ciao a tutti, it's me, Babza Jr. Today I'm going to be beating Elden Ring, including all remembrance bosses in both Best Game DLC, using only Scythes. Yeah, they're actually called Reapers, but come on, they're Scythes. They're also my favourite weapon type, and I'm really excited to use them here. It's worth mentioning, this is only my second playthrough of Elden Ring. The first time I used a lot of incantations, i.e. ranged attacks, so this will be my first melee playthrough. Scythes, as it turns out, have some really amazing versatility, and some of the combinations on this run are incredible, dealing huge damage and looking really pretty in the process. Ok, andiamo. First we make a character. Saito Waifu, of course, is the most appropriate name. We choose the samurai class for the starting dex and pick the golden seed as starting gift. We make it to the stranded graveyard and get our Estus flask before arriving in Limgrave. Feels like home. We meet another waifu, Millennia, and she gives us Torrent and the ability to level up. Then we grab a golden seed and head up to Sunville. But we take the back route to Liurnia to start with. You see, we need to get a site, and the only one in Limgrave requires 24 faith to even wield, which is a bit much for us now. We'll come back for that later, but for now, let's go find a more stat-appropriate option. In Liurnia, I headed all the way to the cliff bottom catacombs. After a mad dash through, I managed to grab a first Scythe, which is called Scythe. Wow, what an imaginative name. They've really outdone themselves here. But this Scythe is actually just to help me get the Scythe I actually want. I first dropped down behind the starting area to grab these two silver pickled fowl fit. Then, by the first grace in Liurnia, I used the silver pickled fowl fit and found these skeletons. These took quite a while. These skeletons and I became very well acquainted, but finally, after a good hour, which felt more like 84 years, one of them drops the grave scythe. I went back to Limgrave now to test it out on some soldiers. Moveset feels nice. I then leveled up strength and vigour. After messing about killing some more Limgrave soldiers, it was time for our journey to continue. First, I go grab the mixed physic, the wet blade is the wet blade, fuck's sake. And then take the portal to Dragon Barrel. I travelled all the way to Fort Faroth where I hacked Grey Old to death to get me a few early levels just to help get things moving. I never feel good doing this, but I guess it's got to be done, eh? I then went back to Liurnia to kill this scarab to get Blood Flame Blade, a great buff incantation that adds more bleed and fire damage to my scythe. At the round table, I grabbed the Finger Seal. Always helps actually being able to cast the incantation. Now, let's talk upgrade materials. Even though I've done a bit of running around to other regions so far, from this point on, I'm going to region lock my upgrade materials. So I can only use the smithing stones I can find in Limgrave until I beat Godric, then same in Liurnia until I beat Renala or Banana-Headed Lady if you prefer, and so on. After grabbing all the smithing stones in Limgrave tunnels, I decided to fight the Stone Digger troll just for the hell of it. With Blood Flame Blade on, we quickly bled out the troll and stance broke him, landing a critical and one additional hit for the win. I now headed to the round table to upgrade my scythe to +3. I tested out my scythe on this troll enemy and yeah, damage is looking pretty nice. Before we got taking on more bosses, we have one last piece of business to take care of. No, I don't mean killing Anastasia, that was just for fun. I meant I needed to go buy my favourite armour set in the game to wear, the Champion set. Sadly, I can't wear all of it yet while staying light load, but we'll get there. Back in Limgrave, I took on this NPC invader Nerigers. With the help of Yura, we easily take him down. Cheers, dude! In Murkwater Cave, I spare patches this time against my better judgment, and then buy Margit Shackle from him. I then ran around getting all the smithing stone tools that I can find in Limgrave. I had to head into Coastal Cave where I definitely killed the demi-human boss with no issue. Yep, he wasn't a 1 HP and a dream situation at all. Anyway, I grabbed the next smithing stone 2 on the island beyond. Time now to head into the Weeping Peninsula to grab another smithing stone 2 on the floor and buy one from this merchant. These stones let us get the scythe up to +5. While here, we might as well take out the Erdtree Asylum Demon. I used Blood Flame Blade here because although it can't be bled, the extra fire damage will definitely help. This cheeky tree did catch me a few times, but I stayed strong and managed to beat him, getting me the useful Opaline and Crimson Busties for my physic. I bought some more smithing tools from this merchant and grabbed the winged scythe nearby for later. Next, I went to Castle Moon, where I grabbed another smithing stone too, and then slaughtered Edgar to get his banished knight's halberd, which gives us the spinning strike Sash of War. There's yet more smithing stone 2s up ahead, and now I get the grave sight up to +6. I equipped it with the spinning strike Sash of War, and we were ready. I tried it out on the Leonine Misbegotten, but sadly it didn't stagger him. I see it killed him quickly in just a few hits though. Well, on to our first proper boss, Malikth. Using the shackle I got earlier, I can hold him down for a good lot of spinning strikes that takes off most of his health. Unfortunately, he wasn't too pleased about this and killed me before I could finish the job. How rude. Annoyingly, the winning attempt wasn't as smooth as that. I got hit as I tried to use the shackle, and then when I went to use it again, I was too far to get the full number of spinning strikes on him. I still did some decent damage, but it made phase 2 a longer and more drawn out fight. I took some hits but managed to push through, got a blick proc, and then a few more hits got me the victory. Before proceeding, I decided to quickly go kill the ancient hero of Zama to get Radagon's cast seal to give ourselves a few more stats, plus the green turtle talisman for better stamina recovery. Could have got this before, but oh well. Time to enter Sunville. I remember Gostok locking me in that room last time, so I quickly got my revenge here. Fuck you, Gostok. The banished knight went down in a few quick jump attacks, and I grabbed the rusty key. Sunville has some useful goodies for our build, such as the claw talisman which boosts jump attacks. But the main thing we want is to speak to Rogier and buy one of the most useful Ash of Wars for the all run, spinning weapon. But more on that later. Okay, let's see what's down here. Oh my god, cute little jaws! They're so adorable! Oh no, I'm sorry, I wasn't going to hurt them, Daddy Jar, I just wanted to say hello! Run away! Well, anyway, let's test out spinning weapon with Blood Flame Blade on the Grafted Scion here. Spinning weapon turns you into a walking blender, striking the enemy numerous times, and with the Gravesight's innate bleed plus the additional bit from Blood Flame Blade, it can proc bleed very quickly and make fast work of anything that isn't immune to it. Just past it, we grab the Iron Wet Blade. This lets us heavy infuse the Scythe so that our points in strength boost our damage even more. With that sorted, we can take on Godric, our first remembrance boss. With just one spinning weapon, we can proc bleed and take off a big chunk of his health. Shame he can't take off big chunks of my health too. It took me a little bit to adjust to his moves, having mainly fought him from range before. Getting through phase 1 wasn't too bad, and I managed to land a spinning weapon both while he was in phase transitioning and at the start of the second phase to get another bleed proc. A couple more spinning weapons brought him down to very low health. I did have a near choke at the end, but thankfully I survived and finished him with a few light attacks. With that, we get access to Leonia and all his dungeons, including Stillwater Cave. Normally, I never want to end up in this poison hellhole, but the boss here has something I need. The Clean Rot Knight took a lot of damage from our attacks here, but I did end up getting both poisoned and scarlet rotted, which was not very nice. Eventually, with some good aggression, which I'm always partial to, I took him down to get the Winged Sword Insignia. This talisman gives a damage boost with successive attacks, which is perfect for multi-hit Ash of Wars like spinning weapon. Time to grab some smithing stone 3s around the area. There's a lot of them in Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel, which is helpful. The boss here is our old friend Ian the Crystal. This guy's pretty easy, it didn't take too many hits to break him. After that, he can just be staggered repeatedly until he dies, giving us the smithing stone bell-bearing 1. With all the stones we've gathered, we get the Grave Scythe up to +9. I had a plan for my next move, so I went and grabbed the Feathers Cookbook from Lingrave. As I was a bit stronger now, I went back to kill the tree sentinel just because I could. This was fun. I then crafted a slip pot and headed to the Ruinstream Precipice. As I climbed the ladder up here, another player was climbing at the exact same speed as me in another world, which meant his spirit covered me as I climbed. JK, if you're watching, look away now. Anyway, this dungeon is great because it's full of smithing stones 4s. There's a lot of them in here, which is exactly what we need. After grabbing the last couple, we now upgrade the gravesite to +12. Boss time again. So, full disclosure, I planned to use the sleep pot on Makara as apparently the magma worms are weak to it, but I found out just before this fight that they don't actually fall asleep properly like the Goskins do. So instead, I just had to find some good openings for spinning weapon. I got a bleed proc almost immediately, which was great. He decided to charge around the room, which was kind of annoying, but I managed to get a few more spins in to bleed him again. I had to reapply Blood Flame Blade as he went to phase 2, but his phase went smoother. A couple more spins, a bleed proc and some light attacks took this guy down quickly. With our weapon as upgraded as it can be for now, let's head into Hogwarts. I wasted no time riding the water wheel up and getting the grace before the next boss, Red Wall for Radagon. I don't like this guy. It was a bit difficult to land spinning weapon as he kept jumping around everywhere, but the one I did manage to land took off half his health. For the final part, I just used light attacks as it was easier to land them, and down he goes. I leveled up strength because I just want more damage. Give me more damage! Up ahead, I grabbed the Glintstone Wet Blade and easily took out Moongrum. I also took out the Pumpkinhead and Sorcerers above to give an easy run back to Relana. Speaking of which, let's go see how Banana Head Egg Lady is doing. Phase 1 was an absolute joke. Spinning weapon with Blood Flame Blade allowed me to easily end Relana's in one cycle. Phase 2 was trickier because she just kept running away and spamming spells. In the words of a guy claiming to be a castle who's currently locked in our basement, she spams spells. She spams spells. I did unfortunately get caught by a lot of them and died, which was a shame. Next try, things went better. I worked harder on closing the distance and attacking, using spinning weapon first, but then some light attacks and jump attacks to ensure I could get the hits in. I did get the win, but some absolute bullshit happened. I went in and got the final hits in, but apparently she just started the summoning animation as I killed her. I didn't even realize this had happened, so imagine my surprise when this troll appeared and smashed me into the ground. That was pure and utter bullshit. At least I can get 3 more points of strength. At this point, I need back to Sunville to grab the Gosski Prayer Book and also activated Godric's Great Rune, which I forgot to do. The Gosski Prayer Book lets me buy Black Flame Blade, a 7-second buff of Black Flame, which probably won't come in handy, but let's see. Oh, also, we get a second talisman pouch. It'd be good to get some more physic tears, so let's test out spinning weapon with a frost infusion on this Tree avatar. This was pretty effective. It only took 5 spinning weapons to bring him down and get us these 3 elemental boosting tears. Well, let's make our way to Mana next. So, fun fact, on my first Elden Ring playthrough, Phantom Loretta was a real struggle for me. And if you know me by now, you will know that there will have been a lot of swearing and shouting at this absolute bitch. She can't be bled, so let's try out Black Flame Blade instead. It did help add a little bit more damage, but 7 seconds is a crazy short time for a buff to last. But to be fair, it wasn't even really necessary. My damage was significant enough that I took her out in about a minute anyway. This felt really good after the trouble she caused me last time. Fuck you, Loretta. Fuck you. Go away, Adula. Nobody likes you. Up ahead, we have a nice chat with Rani, just to start a quest moving forward. But let's make our way into Arthur's Plateau before we worry about that just yet. Here, I learned that gravity is definitely not my friend. Altoano was my first destination, mainly for the Smithy Stone 5s in here, but also I wanted the somber bell bearing that Ian the Crystal's brothers were hiding. I took them out no problem this time, before going to upgrade the gravesite to plus 14. I also got 3 more Smithing Stones 5s and a bell bearing from Altoano and took out the Onyx Lord at the end. There really wasn't any need to fight this guy, but I just like killing things so long as they aren't cute, so why not? A few slashes and a bleed finished him off quickly. Now I upgraded the site to plus 15 before heading back to the Altoano to get the Virgin to break the statue for 3 Smithing Stone 6. Ouch. I then taunted this bear to break this statue for a couple more 6s, and then got this Mangelmi bear to break this statue for 3 more. I was feeling kinda cold, so I used my blender to make up some nice hearty pumpkin soup. Although, I wouldn't be cold for much longer given Volcano Mana is our next destination. I took out the blowdown tonight below and made my way into this lava-filled hellhole. At least there's more Smithing Stone 6 here, and also here. Oh, hi cute Jaff friends! Okay, the grave scythe is now plus 18. Shall we test out on the demi-human queen? Yep, that went well. She of course guards the Retail Sword Talisman, giving me more damage at full health. I mean, surely now we'll beat the Draconic Tree Sentinel first try, right? Ow. Okay, so it goes without saying that the best strategy is sneaking up behind him here. Spinning Weapon got in some good damage. Two of them right at the start deleted about a third of his health. But given that he can one-shot me in phase 2, actually landing it is tough because of how open it leaves me. So I switched to some normal R1s and did well for a while, but getting caught by one attack leaves me in a bad situation, followed by death shortly after. But I've got another idea. Let's actually bring Spinning Strikes back out for this one. My theory is that I can get some more damage in at the start with this while he does his activation animation. I was very much right, as this got him down to half health, causing him to enter his phase 2 animation, letting me get more hits in. He finally broke free, but then one R1 staggered him. I then started another round of Spinning Strikes. I got lucky here because he did the whole stomp attack, which totally missed me and allowed me to keep attacking him, killing him before he could do another attack. This was one of my favourite kills of the run so far. With that victory, we have made it to the capital. After leveling up endurance a bit more, I thought we'd take out the Air Tree avatar on the High Street. With Spinning Weapon and Frost, this was a pretty easy win, giving us a Lord's Rune worth 50 grand. I level up to 29 endurance now. We got an interesting one up ahead, Gold Tree. He's immune to all status effects, so no need for Blood Flame Blade here. These actually just resembled a normal fight with dodging and trading of blows. I need to learn this guy's moveset a little better, but overall this went well and I took him down after a couple minutes. I used these runes to level up Vigor, and then the Black Knife Assassin ahead got absolutely annihilated by Spinning Weapon in a very, very satisfying kill. I added the Shackle to my inventory and prepared to take on Morgoth. With clever use of the Shackle, I got several Spinning Weapon off at the start, taking off about 60-70% of his health by the time phase 2 had begun. After that, I just dodged through his attacks and a nice combo of R1s was enough to get one more bleed proc and bring an end to Morgoth. This fight only went about 60 seconds total and I'm pretty happy with that. I can't go into the Air Tree yet, but Millennia guided me in the right direction to proceed by giving me the rolled medallion. But before leaving, I had to pay a horrible visit down to the subterranean shunning grounds to grab some Smithing Stone 7s. I hate this place. I grabbed another Smithing Stone 7 from here and then upgraded the site again to plus 19. It was now time to head to Caelid. I killed the Putrid Avatar here to get the Flame Shroud in Cracked here, which I could use to boost a little bit of fire damage Blood Flame Blade gives us. I also went up on this skull to get a couple more Smithing Stone 7s and a Smithing Stone 8, and then got the grace in the Church of the Plague nearby. But guess what? We can actually get a new Scythe here. These Clean Rot Knights nearby have the Alocythe, and one of them kindly dropped it for me after only a few kills. I used all the Somber Stones I had to boost it to plus 7, and of course get the Gravesite to plus 20. There's still more stones to get in Caelid though. We gotta kill this Falling Star beast, and this seems like a good time to test out the Alocythe. The main good thing with this is the Ash of War, which fires off this Holy Projectile disc. It does good damage, fires out fast, and what's even better is you can spam it like this to quickly melt down certain bosses. This beast drops 5 Smithing Stone 7, which is just what we need. Gravescythe goes all the way up to plus 21. As we're hanging around the swamp anyway, let's take out Commander O'Neill. With some stealth, we can tear off a lot of his health with a few spinning weapons at the start, leaving him pretty weakened. The summons did make things a little tricky, but I just powered through and killed him. What do you mean I nearly died at the end? You're imagining things. With the needle he drops, we can go speak to Gowry to start his quest. But before continuing that, let's go do Radagon as the festival is active. So, in my first run, I really struggled with Radagon. I ended up killing him by using Rotten Breath and running away. I want to redeem myself with a good kill here. On my first attempt, things went incredibly well. Spinning Weapon did huge damage, and I actually almost killed him before he did the phase transition. Unfortunately, after all that, I choked dodging the meteor and died instantly. That was pretty frustrating. Yeah, I hear skill issue and all that. On the winning attempt, things didn't go quite as smooth. I think I would have managed to do him before he did the phase transition if it weren't for the fact that I didn't get quite enough behind him when he did the gravity explosion. knocking me away and preventing me from getting off the last full spinning weapon I needed. This time though, I did dodge the meteor and managed to get behind him as he summoned his orbs, letting me get off the final spinning weapon I needed to put him down. Won't be the last we see of him, of course, not by a long shot. In the battlefield, Alexander was doing some unspeakable things which I'm going to pretend I didn't see. With Radagon's defeat, we can head into Nocron. Actually, the only place I was heading to was down this hole to my death. Gravity really doesn't like me today, does it? With me sufficiently pissed off, I decided to go gather some stuff for my build first, such as the Somberstone 8 from here and the Somberstone 9 from here. I also went and got Flame Gramming Strength for an additional damage buff. I went back to speak to Gowrie now, who gave me a needle which I injected into the sick woman without even questioning it. Millicent now gives us the prosthesis wearer's heirloom. I then did some absolutely sick parkour down this cliff, and then I spoke to Millicent again in Gowrie's shack. I snuck into the Shady Castle to get the Valkyrie's prosthesis and gave it to Millicent so she could fight again. I then headed into Windmill Village, past these weird dancing women so I could take on this Goskin Apostle. A spinning weapon and a combo of R1s took off most of his health before he finished his phase transition, and then a few more hits killed him. This means Millicent moves here and... yeah, I'm sorry. I really wish I didn't have to, but we need the talisman she drops. I feel pretty terrible for half a second, but I have to move on. I know that Millicent would want me to move on. Millicent's prosthesis boosts successive attacks and stacks with the winged sword insignia, further powering up spinning weapon. I also took out this putrid avatar in Dragon Barrow to get the Opaline Art here and Stone Barbed Cracked here for more defense and stance damage respectively. I also went down into these horrible catacombs below Lanedale to take on Esgar Priest of Blood. It's a bit of a Capra Demon situation as there are 2 dogs in here and you know how I feel about Capra Demon. Luckily, I took out the dogs fairly quickly and then used the range of the Scythe to take out Esgar without too much issue. This gives us Lord of Blood's Exaltation, which gives us a 20% attack boost whenever bleed happens. And fuck Capra Demon. Okay, that was a big diversion. Let's try and go back down to Nocron again. I encountered Mimic here and tried to spinning weapon it right at the start, but I got the timing wrong and the Mimic got me with it instead. I made it pay for it with a quick sight assault after for the swift victory. Before the next boss, I upgraded the Alocythe to +9, as it's gonna come in handy once again shortly. First, I light up all the torches in the area, and now we're ready to go. The Regal Ancestor Spirit is one of the rare remembrance bosses that is actually weak to Holy, so perfect for using the Alocythe. The Asher Ward takes off around 20% of the spirit's health. It did manage to heal up at one point, but given how high our damage was, this didn't save him from the inevitable. A few more Holy Distractor discs are enough to bring this annoying deer down. I leveled up strength some more with these runes and then headed down to lower Nocron. Here, I can grab the Black Wicked Blade, blend this roll down into a fine paste and grab the Fingerslayer Blade from this chest. I gave the Fingerslayer Blade to Rani to get the Carian Inverted Statue and then headed through the portal to get to Enser River Main. I spoke to Adol for a bit, because that's what I like to do in my spare time, who told me about a Baleful Shadow. Curse you, Baleful Shadow! Anyway, I made it to Noxtella and smashed up some giant balls. Giant balls. I encountered that Baleful Shadow Rani was talking about earlier. For him, I actually found Spinning Strikes was the most useful Asher War for the higher damage per hit and the flexibility of movement. I played him out quickly and headed to the Lake of Rot. What a lovely area. I grabbed the Dark Moon Ring using the kit I got from the Shadow, and then ran through the Lake of Rot, praying that I somehow survived the relentless Scarlet Rot. I managed it, but it was pretty close. I then took the Coffin right down and prepared for the next boss, one which I really hate. Astel is pretty annoying. I decided to stick with Spinning Strikes here. Using this, I managed to get most of Astel's health off in the first part of the fight, thanks to the bleed and overall high damage. But his meteors one-shot me. Ouch. Next attempt, I regretted not using Spinning Weapon because it did not go anywhere near as smoothly. Astel was not wanting to play ball here. I mean, I still beat him in far less attempts than it took me in my previous run. Only right at the end did he do the tail poke attack I was wanting him to do the whole fight, as it was a good opening, but at least I finished him off. I now went at the Moonlight Altar to grab some goodies. I blended up one of these Royal Revenants, which felt very satisfying, and then grabbed the Smithing Stone Hates in the chest below. I then decided to take on Andula, which honestly I really regretted because this fight ended up being really annoying. Maybe I'm supposed to have more health by this point. I actually died to this boss more than many of the ones I fought so far, but then I actually just beat him without taking a hit. Not sure why, but he just decided to play ball and let me land a whole load of spinning weapons at the start of the fight, eliminating almost all of his health. I didn't want to take any chances, so I hopped up on Torrent and landed the final hit from the mounted position to bring this annoying dragon down. In the gazebo beyond, we grabbed some more Smithing Stone Scythe, which let us upgrade the graveside to plus 23. While I remembered, I went to grab the half of the Alocythe Tree medallion from Albus. Right, I think it might be time to head to the mountaintops of the Giants. I took out some horsemen on the way and then ran through the Forbidden Lands because there's really nothing here for us. Lastly, I take the lift up and end up in the mountaintops. Here, I grabbed the Smithing Stone Bell Bearing 3 and went on a big mission down to Castle Sol. This, of course, means facing Commander Niall. Taking out his summons was easy enough, but Spinning Weapon did a very low amount to him compared to a lot of the bosses so far. Also, finding time to actually land it was tough. I tried with some R1s and jumping attacks, but his damage was crazy. Let's come back to him shortly. I headed back down to the horrible sewers to grab the singular Smithing Stone 8 there. I then spoke to Varre and went to slaughter Magnus the Beast Claw, who went down very easily to a Scythe swings. Irina then met with a very unfortunate accident, and finally Varre gives me the Pureblood Knight's Medal, which of course lets us enter Mogwin. I grabbed another Smithing Stone 8 from here and 3 more lying around here. With that we can... Wait, what's going on? Oh, piss off, Hensha! Trying to stop me upgraded. What a dick! Anyway, with this Smithing Stone 8, we get the side up to plus 24. I then off back to the mountaintops of the Giants, where I introduced Okina to the sharp end of my scythe. That's a cool looking katana. Maybe I need to do a katana run sometime. Right by where Okina spawns, there's an ancient dragon Smithing Stone, which means our grave scythe is now plus 25. We could do with some more levels, so let's go do Mog as we have access to him. I had a pretty good idea on how to handle him with spinning strikes. Basically run up to Mog, use the shackle and start spinning strikes. As we keep hitting him, I move myself around the back of him. He does all his little animations to prepare to move to his second phase, but he shouldn't have bothered because my damage is enough to take him out before he can even do a single attack. This was the most satisfying kill so far. He drops a lot of runes, so I go all the way up to 50 strength. While I'm in the area, I also grab the Somber Ancient Dragon Stone close by. I use it to max upgrade the Alocythe. Perfect, because I plan to use it to take out these annoying Knight's cavalry in the Forbidden Lands. It's easy enough to get up on a structure where he can't reach you and spam the Ash of War projectiles to kill him. The reward is a new Ash of War, Phantom Slash. This, I'm hoping, will be the key to defeating Commander Niall. I also had a new strategy. My plan was to leave the Shield Knight alive to keep Niall in phase 1 for longer, where he's more passive. Phantom Slash gives me a bit of useful range and the damage is pretty solid. As he goes to phase 2, I take out the Knight quickly. Phantom Slash was so helpful here because after he finishes a lot of his combos, I can use it to close the distance and get some solid damage in on him. I nailed the timing of several of them, but unfortunately he hit me as I landed the finishing hit. I survived luckily and this annoying boss is finally dead. I got the second Alocythe Tree medallion at last. I took the lift up to the hidden path to the Alocythe Tree and then headed into the consecrated snowfield. The reason I wanted to come here is that there's a big upgrade I can get for our build. Killing the Putrid Avatar gives us the Thorny Crack tier, boosting successive attacks by quite a bit for 3 minutes. It stacks with the talismans I've got as well, so damage should be really solid. Well, I know I said I wanted to avoid killing any cuties, but sadly, Fire Giant is a mandatory boss, so I have no choice. The damage difference for Spinning Weapon was really noticeable. I took off huge amounts of health with the first couple spinning weapons, and then chased him down to land 2 more, which was actually already enough to bring him into his second phase. Things were going really well here also, until Fire Giant rolled onto me. Ow. The next time, phase 2 went a lot better. I was able to reapply Blood Flame Blade at the start of the phase. I then got behind him as he bent back to show fire and landed a spinning weapon which procced the bleed. It was a bit tricky still to land spinning weapon properly in this phase, and I did get smacked a few times. But when he went for a double fist slam, I got underneath him and landed spinning weapon right into his eye to end this fight. I grab a Somberstone 9 from Dragon Barrow and then use all the other stones to get the Winged Scythe up to +9. Well, I need to get to the Deep Truth Depths, and I suppose I can do the Valiant Gargoyles. They're immune to bleed and frost unfortunately, and they resist slash damage, but they are considered a mid-game boss so they don't actually have that much health. Do really hate this poison attack though. I couldn't kill the first one before the second one joined, and I had to take a big risk just tanking one of the poison attacks to bring the first one down as quickly as possible. I was still pretty badly poisoned, but it only took a couple more spinning weapons to bring the second gargoyle down. But of course, we can't fight 40 sacks without the curse mark of death, so let's spin the Carrion Study Hole upside down. Perceptor Miriam got bled out after only a couple hits, which made me very happy. I made it down the lift and opened the door leading to the top of the tower. There's of course a Gosski Noble here. You probably know my opinion on these guys by now, but if not, let's just say I'm not a fan of them. At all. But what I am a fan of is getting him stuck against the railing so we can safely spinning weapon him to death. Cheesy? Maybe, but fuck this guy. I grabbed the curse mark of death from the tower above and then did all the stuff with Fia killing her ex-husband or whatever it is that's actually happening here. I don't know or care. I just want to kill stuff. I now headed to the Deep Truth Depths, but not before grabbing the Two Fingers Heirloom, which gives us 5 more points of faith. Why do we need this? Well, it's time to use a scythe we haven't used yet, the Winged Scythe. So, fun fact, this scythe was the melee weapon I used on my first playthrough, and is the weapon that led to my love affair with this weapon type. It's actually really good for NPC type fights, mostly due to its Asher War, a big flying clave that NPCs struggle to avoid, which also blocks them from healing for a while. The first 2 NPCs here got absolutely destroyed by it. Actually, so did the next 2 that got summoned with Lionel, leaving Lionel all on his lonesome. He only took 3 more Asher Wards to kill Lionel shortly after, for a very easy victory. Fia then holds me way too close for a while, awkward, opening the way to 40 sacks. 40 sacks actually was a bit tough. The lightning attack that it does when you're close by makes doing spinning weapon really difficult. In the end, I just had to accept I was going to take hits and just went for spinning weapon whenever I could. The damage was pretty strong, even if his body supposedly resists damage much more than his head. He only took about 5 spinning weapons to blast him down, but it was a much messier fight than I would have liked. Oh well, at least it's over with. Before doing anything else, I went to grab all the golden seeds that I'd missed so far, including this one in Arthur's, and this one that Kenneth Hyde kindly gives us. As well as this, I went to get all the Sacred Tears I missed. After upgrading the Estus Flask as much as we could, I was in the mood for killing for a change, so I thought I'd try out the Alocythe on this Deathrite bird, another rare Holy Week boss. The Asher Ward did huge damage, especially if I landed a hit to its head. The tracking the disc has is super handy given how much these guys jump around all over the place. It didn't take too long to kill it for a nice 220,000 runes. I used these runes to put some more points into Vigor and then unlock the bridge shortcut in Volcano Mana. This unfortunately means it's time for another Gosski Noble, but at least our damage is really good. One spinning weapon takes off about 40% of the Goskin's health. A second one takes off another big chunk. I tried to finish him as he got stuck rolling behind the pillar, but I got too close and got blasted back. He got quite aggressive after this, but one more spinning weapon took him out. Fucking Goskin. I made it through the next part and prepared for a fight I had been dreading. Rykard. I really don't like this fight, especially so because I need to change into some of this ugly heavy armor. I went with the Frost-infused Grave Scythe for this, as Rykard is weak to it. The strategy is not the most exciting one. Run up close and spam spinning weapon, healing when needed, tanking the few attacks he can do that hit you. After phase 1, Rykard told me that together we could devour the very gods, but I really don't like snakes, so I had no desire to work with him. The strategy for this phase was largely the same, except this was much more annoying, because he kept jumping back and having to run away when he did the Skulls attack, dragged this out for longer than it should have been. I also ran out of FP for spinning weapon, but luckily I was able to block both Frost and Bleed at the end after another to finish him off. Awful fight. Well, time to burn the air tree. I wish we didn't have to burn it, it's so pretty. But this also means it's time for Farazula. And the fucking Gosski Duo. I do not like these guys very much. Trying to get off spinning weapon when both of them are attacking me is no idea. This was easily the toughest fight of the run so far. I love it when I get cornered with the fat one literally on top of me. I'm going to need to think of a new strategy for this. I did come really close on one attempt, but it's so easy to get destroyed if you make even one mistake. My winning strategy was actually to hang out behind the pillar to separate them and then go in with spinning weapon on the noble. One brings him down to half health, and then another, while he face transitions, almost kills him. He just barely survives and goes for the roll, but this time I get behind the pillar to block him. Once he stops rolling, one hit takes him out. I weaken the Apostle to half health, at which point he summons Fatty back in, but then I use spinning weapon as he face transitions to kill him, bringing it back to a one-on-one situation. I weaken the noble with a few more spinning weapons, bringing him to a quarter health by the time he starts rolling again. I use the pillar to block and then finish him off. Finally, 2 hits to the Apostle takes out the last of the health bar, ending this really annoying fight. I now level up Vigor to 40. With that sorted, I go pay Alexander a quick visit as he has a lava jacuzzi. This moves him to Farazula, where I grant his request for a warrior's duel. This was pretty sad, but it's what he wanted, I guess. Thank you, my friend. Your talisman will come in very handy. I will wear it with pride. This will boost our Asher War damage by 15%, which is great for spinning weapon. The Dragon Crest Shield Talisman +2 is also close by, so I grab that and then run through most of the next area until I'm ready to Placidus X. I have to say, this one is one of the most epic intro cutscenes to any boss in the game. This is a fight that could be tough. He has enormous resistance to bleed, so I decided to crack out a new Asher War for this one, Black Flame Tornado. This Asher War creates a tornado of black flame that drains a huge amount of health from him. He can drain a huge amount of health from me in a single hit also though. I actually came so close on this attempt, even getting around the side of him as he did the laser, but wasn't quite far enough and something hit me. I'm actually not even sure what. This was pretty frustrating, and unfortunately there were more deaths to follow. I really struggled with this fight for some reason. After a few more deaths, I decided to go grab a few things. First, I went to go get the Ritual Shield Talisman to help with some defense, as well as the Portrait Talisman +2. What the hell is this bird doing? I also got the Royal Knight's Resolve and the Dagger Talisman, which might be useful for later? No sure. Lastly, I went down in the Subterranean Shunning Grounds. Oh no! Jaffriend! Why did you jump? So a Mog is down here, and I mainly wanted the Air Tree Favor +1 Talisman in his boss room. I then took out Suemog with the combination of a Shackle and Spinning Strikes. Just ignore me dying at the end. I said ignore. Let's try Placidus X again. I did try messing around with some charge heavy attacks to try and stance break him, but I could never get this to work for some reason. So back to Black Flame Tornado. I'll be honest, this took me more attempts than I'd like to admit. I finally figured out some good windows to land it. After the Close Wipe and Fire Breath combo, it's even possible to land 2 Black Flame Tornadoes. I did die once or twice more to a stray laser, but at last I managed to get behind him as he did it and land 2 Black Flame Tornadoes in a row to finish him. This was a pretty annoying fight. I now leveled up Vigor to 45. Up ahead, I snuck up behind the Draconic Tree Sentinel and was able to burst him down with Spinning Strikes. This went even better than the last one, as he didn't have a chance to get an attack off, apart from the lightning, but just ignore that. Alright, time for Malikth. This clergyman actually caused me a lot of issues. It feels like there's no time to get off spinning weapon without either getting punished or him darting away. Every time I tried, I usually got mowed down. The only time I found was when he did the attack where he dragged the dagger along the ground, but it was rare that he even did this. That's good damage there though. Malikth in some ways was actually easier to land spinning weapon on, but then again, he can also wipe me out in a heartbeat. After a few more deaths, I decided to try some other tactics for a bit. I gave the frost-infused scythe a go, so I didn't need to worry about Blood Flame Blade running out. It seemed to work a bit better, but still nothing consistent. Also, doesn't help when I got too far back and fall out the arena. For the winning attempt, I decided to equip the jump attack talisman and use some jump heavies for the clergyman, as well as the occasional spinning weapon on the rare times that I could. After getting through that phase, Malikth went a lot smoother. Twice, I managed to get full spinning weapon off underneath him to drain his health and get another frost proc. With one more successful spinning weapon, Malikth goes down at last. Farazula has been tough this run. With that, the pretty air tree gets burned and I end up with a banging headache in the Ashen capital. After leveling up endurance a bit, I decided to lift my spirits by annihilating Gideon. It was time for the winged scythe to shine again. I had a very specific combo. As he talks, land a charged heavy, then do a backstab. Follow these up with 2 Asher Woos in a row, and this annoying dickhead is dead. But no rest for us. The real Godfrey now blocks our way. This might be one of the first fights where I don't think spinning weapon is the one. It just leaves me too open to his counterattacks, which do huge damage. So he's something completely different. A double scythe build, utilizing frost infusions and the jump attack talisman. What's interesting about this is sometimes the jumping double scythe attack does way more damage for some reason. A lot of the time it's about 1000 damage or a bit more. But sometimes we get numbers like this, 2500. Was that because I got his head? I'm not sure. I still need to learn how to dodge some of these attacks though. My problem is I just panic in the Oraloo phase. He's just so aggressive. I did start to get better and my next attempt was a very close one. I got pretty good at dodging a lot of the attacks in the Godfrey phase. Being more aggressive with my jump attacks helped a lot, and of course, I love aggressive play. For Oraloo, I also realised I could just walk backwards at the start and then run back in to get some damage in on him. Dodging the grabs left him open for a good jump attack. After one which did over 2600 damage, I landed one more which got a frost proc and finished him off. What a fight! My heart was beating hard after that one. Last in this gauntlet of bosses is Radagon and Elden Beast. Radagon is one of the most aggressive bosses in the base game. I stuck with my double side jump attacks for him as I was enjoying using them, but wow does he hit hard. I decided to give spinning weapon a try also for the start of the fight. Damage is decent but still just leaves me so open. It was hard to decide which was better, but in the end I decided to put my faith in spinning weapon. Heavy infusion and status effects don't help with Elden Beast anyway. I finally figured out some windows to get it in, but I took a lot of hits. His projectiles really throw me off, but finally I took Radagon down for the first time. Frustratingly, my first attempt at Elden Beast actually went pretty well. I did take some hits, but Elden Beast is weaker to physical attacks than Radagon, so spinning weapon did some good damage. Unfortunately, I ran out of heals with Elden Beast at about 30% health remaining and died. After this loss, I decided to take a break from that and take out some side bosses to level up. First, the Alocythe absolutely destroyed the Deathrite Bird by Castor Soul. Then I went to the Consecrated Snowfield to take on Theodorix. I thought this would be really annoying, but I actually managed to land spinning weapon a whole bunch of times before he could even really do much. By the time he stood up for phase 2, he was almost dead and one more spin ended him. Lastly, I went and killed this avatar in the mountaintops with a few frosted spinning weapons. With all of these bosses killed, it let me level up faith to 20. The reason I wanted this is because with Godric's Great Rune we have 25 faith and therefore we can use Golden Vow. This gives us a nice extra buff to our damage and defenses for the start of the Radagon fight. I experimented using some Flame Grease as well for some more damage, but it didn't seem like he helped too much. Finally, after a number of attempts, I managed to get a good run. Right at the start of the fight, I landed 2 full spinning weapons which took off about 40% of his health. The next part wasn't quite as clean. Despite landing some more spinning weapons, he did land on some hard hits on me as well. It was a real back and forth battle here, but eventually I managed to kill him with some heals still remaining. for Elden Beast, I actually got the luckiest RNG I think I've ever seen. After his opening fire attack, which I managed to punish, he did the 3-hit melee combo which I dodged and punished. Then he did the 3-hit melee combo again, which I dodged and punished. But then he once again did the 3-hit melee combo, which I dodged and punished, leaving him on a tiny bit of health. He then did the Elden Ring attack, which I jumped over, and then hit 2 spinning weapons to kill him, completely avoiding the Elden Stars part of the fight. I'll take it, and thank you, RNGesus. At this point, I decided to level Vigor to 50 and put more points into Mind. I now went to Oina to light up all the candles to unlock the way into the Alocythe tree. I ran past all the ants, rot flowers and cute giant envoys to get to that first grace. Despite some interference from some ants and this annoying snail who summoned some really powerfully in the crystals, I finally made it through to Loretta. This wasn't too bad, especially compared to Radagon and Elden Beast. Spinning weapon took off some large chunks of her health, and as she tried to do the phase transition, I actually landed 3 spinning weapons in a row which finished her off, completely skipping phase 2. I kept making my way down, taking out the knights on the way until I finally made it to Millennia's boss room. I'm not sure what the best strategy will be for her. Well, firstly, let's try spinning weapon. The damage was okay, but actually landing it on her was a bit tricky to do due to the slow wind up he has. Also, Blood Flame Blade would wear off in the time it took to get a chance to use. I tried with Frost on it instead, so I wouldn't have to worry about that, but it just didn't feel good to use against her. So instead, I thought, let's go back to the jump attack build with the double Scythes. These worked a lot better, allowing me to interrupt many of her attacks with my own and respond more quickly to what she was doing. I still need to learn her moveset a bit better, but even so, this allowed me to push her into phase 2 for the first time, even if I only had 1 HP remaining and she quickly killed me. To help my survivability a little, I grabbed the Dragon Crest Shield talisman from just before the boss room. I started getting through to phase 2 more often and doing better, except when she does waterfall dance at close range. Still need to learn how to avoid that. That did cause quite a few of these deaths. I decided now to make the right hand side bleed infusion so I'd have a better mix of frost and bleeding there for potential double status effects. This let me get some hilariously big hits such as this one. This took a big number of attempts, but I actually was enjoying myself. I was learning her moves and getting gradually better, even if there were some really painful deaths with her 1 hit from death. But finally, this happened. What a fight. Definitely my favourite Millennia fight so far, if not my favourite boss fight so far. With Millennia finally defeated, I leveled up mine to 20 and prepared for the DLC. Alright, let's do this. Our damage was still pretty solid against this Black Knight, which I was pleased to see. I grabbed some nearby Scadu Tree fragments and got myself up to level 2. Time to head into Bellura Tower. I was able to take out the home warriors with a few side jump attacks. I remember struggling a lot with these guys last time, so I was happy to take them out quickly. Up top, unfortunately, there's a boss that I'm really not a fan of. To try and make this a bit less painful, I went and grabbed some more Scadu Tree fragments nearby to get myself up to level 3. Okay, time for this annoying lion thing. He's weak to bleed, so I decided to go with bleed infusion on both sides. Things were going pretty well until phase 2 started. This phase is so chaotic and I often find that he spams things relentlessly, giving very few windows to actually get attacks in. But to be fair, getting in below half health on my first try is a result given how much I struggled with him last time. Honestly, I'm still not sure I have a good understanding of this boss moveset. Winning this fight actually just came down to me being more aggressive, going for my jump attacks even if it meant I might get punished for it. More hits equals more damage and more bleed, which in turn equals a shorter fight. It sounds simple enough, and it actually did work. Sure, I took a bunch of hits, but it paid off when after just over 2 minutes I was able to defeat a first DLC remembrance boss. Messy, yes, but I'm just glad it's over. Obviously, we can't proceed into any realm just yet, so let's head over to Castle Lenses instead. With the extra fragment I grabbed, I go up to Scadu Tree level 4. I took out this troll on the way into the castle and then took the side route and unlocked the shortcut. Moonrithel proved to be a bit annoying until I used his one weakness against him, stairs. For some reason, he really doesn't like fighting on stairs and misses a lot of his attacks, allowing me to jump attack him in return. A few of these easily brought him down. After taking out another Black Knight, it was finally time for Relana. So, this could be an issue. Relana has a 40% resistance to slash damage, which is a main form of damage. Plus, she's super fast, aggressive, and can destroy me in an instant. This was easily some of the lowest damage I've seen against a boss so far with this build. As such, the death count was pretty high. On this attempt, I got so close but got greedy instead of healing and paid for it. This one hurt. At the times, she'd do stuff like summon the swords just as she went up for the moon attack, which really threw me off. I do actually really enjoy this fight, but I don't think I've ever had a boss where I came close so many times just to choke at the end. Maybe I could have tried a different build, but I was feeling really stubborn. I did, however, try out a cool strategy with spinning strikes, using it up close as she phase transitioned. On this occasion, I actually stance broke and bled her. It's a real shame this wasn't the winning attempt. On the winning attempt, I did get it off and get a bleed, but not a stance break sadly. But I did manage to finally learn to dodge a giant magic greatsword though. After a really intense back and forth of dual-wielding weapons between myself and Relana, she went up for the moons again. I jumped them and landed the final hit to end this one. What a battle! I now decided to level Arcane to help with bleed infusions a little. I also found out about Scadu Tree fragment I missed in Bellorat Tower. I blame JK for not telling me about it and then not telling me about all these flies in this room on the way to get it. But then, he loves doing this sort of pranks on me, the twat. This brings us up to Scadu Tree level 5, but luckily, there's a bunch more fragments around the area. I grabbed 2 from here, another one from here, and with some more lying around, I got up to level 8. I took the route through Route Base to grab the map and even more fragments to push us up to +9. Okay, last bit of collecting, I promise. With all the ones in the immediate area gathered, I took the route down to the river here and wound up in the Cerulean coast. Here, I got one more fragment to get to level 10, which should be good for now. I tried to go down into Great Fissure here until I remember I hadn't broken the seal yet. A quick trip back to the front of Shadow Keep gets that sorted. I then went to take the lift up to Shadow Keep, but I now needed to get a crucial item. I walked back to Church of Ellen to speak to Kale and buy the telescope. With the telescope, you can zoom in nice and close to see a cute golden hippo sleeping in the corner of the room without disturbing him. Look at him, he's so cute. Hello, I'm a sleepy little hippo. With that important part of the run completed, I can now head into Stone Coffin Fissure. Oh no, a cute blood fiend! Quick, run away! Damn it. After one of the birds here forgets how to fly, I took out the Phantom Misbegotten and headed down for Putrescent Knight. He's actually one of the few bosses weak to Holly, so I went with a combo of the Winged Scythe and the Alocythe. Jump attacks with these two did good damage, when I could actually land them though. He just kept running away, and even though occasionally I got over 4000 damage from one attack, I found it too inconsistent. So instead, I decided to use just the Winged Scythe and its Ash of War. He has good hyper armor and can help close the distance on him, which is essential for this fight. I nearly did it on this first attempt here, but made the mistake of not bringing an FP flask, meaning I ran out of FP before he died. I could still use the Ash of War, but it did much less damage and he killed me after a frostbite. It took a few attempts, but I figured it out. With the damage the Scythe did in the first part of the fight, thanks to Golden Vow, I took him to phase 2 in just 3 Ashes of War. After that, I managed to avoid enough of his attacks and just basically keep going off the Ash of War, even at the cost of my own life, until this annoying boss dies at last. Before heading elsewhere, JK informed me there might be another armor set I might like nearby. Taking this tunnel underground lets us go all the way up to this nameless mausoleum. There's a boss in here called the Dancer of Rana, who I kill with no issue. She drops the Dancer's set. This does look quite fashionable, but it's not as badass as her brand armor. Maybe I use it for a bit just to see how I feel. Anyway, I actually needed to do a bit of questline stuff for later, so I quickly went to have a chat with Ansbach to get him to move. With that sorted, I headed down this dodgy drop section in the Murth ruins to make my way into Bonnie Village. I took the bridge across the chasm below and kept going until I got to the church district of Scadu Tree. After nailing the jumping section perfectly, I took out my anger on this Fire Knight, dropped into this building, and then made my way to the specimen storehouse back section. From here, I jumped down to the first floor Grace, and then went to speak to Ansbach again, who seemed very confused about what happened to Moog. I then made my way up to Shadowkeep until I grabbed the secret Rise Scroll. I then went and spoke to Freya to get her to move, spoke to her again on the 7th floor of the storehouse, and then went to give the secret Rise Scroll to Ansbach. That's all we need to do for now. I then made my way up top and took out this Fire Knight with a few jump attacks. I get up to Scadu Tree level 11 and also level up Arcane a bit more. I decided to go with 1 Bleed Scythe and 1 Frost Scythe for this next fight. It's time, of course, to face Mesma. The damage was okay, but given that he's weak to slash, I was hoping for a bit more. I find this fight very tough due to his really fast attacks. After a few attempts with this setup, despite taking him through the second phase, I felt like I wanted to try a different approach. I also switched back to my normal brand armor, so let's go back to our old faithful strategy using Spinning Weapon and Blocked Flame Blade. Dodging the initial orb attack leaves a good window to land a Spinning Weapon in full on him. I then got a little lucky as he did his Jumping Spear throw attack twice in a row, after which I got a Spinning Weapon on him both times. This was enough to take him to phase 2 with only 40% health remaining. I dodged the orb at the start of phase 2 and landed another Spinning Weapon. I did take some damage from the snakes, but after a couple more spins, he went into his mega combo which I dodged all of and landed 1 more Spinning Weapon to kill him. I leveled up Arcane a bit more, even though I'm not sure how helpful this will be. Let's see. Now I head to the Cathedral of Manos Metia. I spoke to Ymir to get his holy necklace and then headed to the Finger Ruins in the Cerulean coast. I blew into this hanging finger bell, got the next map, wrapped the Obabza Jester, and then headed back into Shadowkeep to climb up the back way. Take that, you stupid Fire Knight. I made my way through the rafters until I could take the lift down. Waiting at the bottom is Commander Gaius. He's another boss who's weak to Holy, and for him I'm going to use the Alocythe. Our damage is good, but that charge, ouch. The Alocythe's Astral War also has some decent homing to him, as he runs around everywhere. This actually took way fewer attempts than the other DLC bosses so far. It didn't take too many rings to push him through to phase 2, and then, after dodging his opening dive attack, I barraged him with rings and killed him before he could even really do anything else. Good. Fuck this guy. The good news is, though, there's a lot of fragments beyond him, 5 in total. With all of those, we get up to Scadu Tree level 13. Now, I use the Obabza to get this statue to move, and then quickly blast this tree sentinel. I, of course, had to stop by Shaman Village because it's really nice and peaceful. Oh, and get that sweet golden braid talisman, of course. I stick another point into Arcane, and then blow in the second finger bell. With that, I exhausted all of Ymir's dialogue, which opens up the way beneath the cathedral. I quickly took out Sword Hand on Knight Anna and prepared to take on Metia. I remember this fight being really annoying on my first playthrough, but this was actually really easy. When Meti did the slime AoE at the start, I got right up close and took off about 70% of her health with just 2 spinning weapons. For the next phase, I mainly stayed at a distance and baited the spinning attack, punishing with spinning weapon each time. She did do the big laser, which I survived, and then hit her with one more spin as she came down to finish her. With that, I headed back to drain the water in the church district. I dropped down and made the unnecessarily long journey to the Scadu Tree base. For the Scadu Tree avatar, I of course infused the Scythes with fire, as the avatar is weak to it. This was another fight that went down really easily. I mean, I did die once to this explosion at the start of phase 3. On the next try, the jump attacks with the double fire Scythes just absolutely demolished the avatar's health, taking off half his health in the second and third phases. I did get caught by the grab near the end, but one more jump attack ended his existence. This felt very satisfying to just crush some bosses. And no, not justice for the sunflower. I leveled up mine to 25 now and also put 1 point into strength. I now went to take the other route out of Shadow Keep and met some cute jars on the way who wanted to be my friends. Hello little guys, you're so cute. Anyway, onto the Asian ruins of Rao. I mostly just sped through here until I ended up outside Romina's boss room. Romina is weak to fire and also fairly vulnerable to bleed, so I wasn't too worried about this one. I quickly took off over half her health in the first minute of the fight. I took some hits in the second phase, sure, but nothing was too dangerous here, and there were some decent windows to land some more spinning weapons. Even though she resists large damage, it took just a few more to bring her down on my first attempt. I put another point into strength now, and then went to burn the seed in 3, opening up the way to Enerilim. But we're not going there yet. First up, we go back to Shadow Keep. Take the coffin right down below, and get down this grace here. Ah, fly! Ended up in the Dark Light Catacombs, a place I absolutely hate. I hate these spammy mages and these cannon imps, but I especially hate the boss, Jory. This guy is the definition of spamming. Spamming projectiles, spamming clones, spamming S'more's mom. On the next attempt, I went for a hyper-aggressive approach, landing multiple spinning weapons and throwing some normal light attacks in there. I kept the pressure on and thankfully he dies in under 2 minutes. What a dick. After boosting up strength again, I headed into the Abyssal Woods and killed this stupid Han guy. I grabbed the front paints here and went up to Scadu Tree level 14, and then snuck past the Winter Lanterns up ahead. I then ran past the Jory impersonators until finally making it into Midran's Mans. I took out the really aggressive Hornet Warrior up ahead, as well as Mozand, who got stuck in this doorway. Time to take on Midra. The good news is, he can be bled, so I think the spinning weapon should be fine to use. He does have a lot of health though, and the madness is definitely a problem. It took a little bit of figuring things as he could destroy me fairly easy in phase 2. After a choke near the end of one attempt, I managed to figure it out on the next one. For the start of phase 1, I ran around his first attack and land multiple spinning weapons to do about 24,000 damage, which is massive. I took some hard hits in the second phase, but one spinning weapon was still enough to do over 10,000 damage. This wasn't the cleanest fight, but I just kept pushing through and attacking until I was able to take him down. I was a little curious about how spinning strikes would do here, so I reloaded the save I made before the fight and gave it a try. We did actually get more damage at the start, reaching a total of 26,000 damage. It was tricky to get it off in the second phase, but I did find that it did more damage without relying on getting a bleed proc. I took a risk and went at him as he did the exploding head attack, and luckily it was enough to kill him for the second time. I now put a couple of points into mind, went to say hi to my good buddy Egon, and then went to kill the really annoying ancient dragon man at the bottom of the dragon pit. This guy kept evading my spinning weapon. How dare he? Okay, he's dead. Another absolute dick. I made it to the foot of Jack Peak and started the long journey up, running past the worst dragon fight in the game. After a long climb, it's finally time for Bale. No Egon to help me this time. Unlike other dragon fights, Bale is really difficult to get under because of his weird body shape. Also, he looks like a gremlin. His leg stump is a weak point and probably the easiest thing to aim for here, but he jumps around a lot. The second phase is one of the most chaotic things I've ever seen. Yep, this is gonna be tough, alright. On a good run, I can get 2 spinning weapons off underneath him to remove about 11,000 health. but keeping that pressure on is not easy, and surviving is easily my biggest struggle here. After getting crushed a few times, I decided to go grab some remaining Scadu Tree fragments, including this one that I ran right past. Oops! With a couple more grabbed from different areas around the map, including this awkward one on this statue, we should be able to upgrade a bit more. But there was one other thing I could get. In this tower here, I grabbed Egon's Cookbook 1. I grabbed the Dragon Communion Grease here and some sharp gravel stones nearby to make more. This grease gives a 38% damage boost against dragons like Bale, so using these instead of Bloodflame Blade, given Bale's huge bleed resistance, should work better. I leveled up to Scadu Tree level 16 and prepared to try again. This for sure helped with the damage a bit, but more damage wouldn't matter if I couldn't actually land my attacks. I decided to use Bloodflame Blade for the first part of the fight, as there was usually a good window to attack here and get an initial bleed. Getting a second would be tough, given how high his resistance goes up to after the first, so I opted to use the grease for the second part of the fight. Damage was better, but still, me surviving was by far the biggest blocker to victory over anything else. After a few deaths, I had another crazy idea to try. I swapped back to the Dancer set. While its physical defense was lower than the Champion set, he has a higher resistance to fire and lightning, which he uses a lot in the second phase. No idea if this will actually help or not, but let's see. On this attempt, a combination of good RNG, good dodging, and opting to take a hit during the phase transition so I could get one more attack, let me bring him down to about 40% health by the time phase 2 started. For phase 2, I went hard in, taking risks to get more spinning weapons in, tanking his AoE so I could land 2 more spinning weapons, getting that elusive second bleed to bring Bale to low health. Now, remember when I said I didn't know whether having the extra fire and lightning resist these armor gives would matter? Well, look at this. I'd say, without this armor's protection, I would have for sure died here. Despite Bale going all out to kill me in this final section of the fight, jumping away when I was sure I was going to land the final hit, I somehow managed to survive and hit him with a normal R1 to end him once and for all. Big W for the Dancer armor for making that possible. So finally, I made my way into Enirelem. Despite a lot of interference from Small's great hand and these annoying light pillar guys, I managed to push through and upgrade my Scadu Tree level again. As we have this annoying NPC gank ahead of us, it's time for the Winged Scythe to come back out again. Yeah, shut up, Leda. The Winged Scythe, like with fierce champions, is great for handling these NPCs, except when you get one shot like this. Next time though, a good Asher War spam quickly takes down Horn's End. Dane is a bit tougher, but thanks to doing his quest earlier, Sir Ansbach joins us for this one. I normally don't summon unless absolutely necessary, but he's also got a Scythe, so this felt very team appropriate and absolutely necessary. We quickly take down Dane. Leda caused a few more problems, but despite nearly dying at the end, we killed her quickly after. Glad this is over. Sir Ansbach thankfully holds no hard feelings about the fact we killed Morg. Sorry about that. The final battle is coming, the fight I feared the most across this whole run. Promise Consort Radan, maybe the hardest fight FromSoft I've ever made. It's got very high resistance to both slash and bleed. Phase 1 isn't so bad, the attacks are easier to dodge, so I actually was able to take him through to phase 2 on my very first attempt. Phase 2 though is, yeah, a bit of an issue. When can I actually land spinning weapon? I also need to just learn to dodge his attacks better. I felt like taking the hit at the start of the phase to have the opportunity to land one more spinning weapon was worth it, but the fat Bloodflame Blade I worn off by this point meant bleed was probably unlikely. The only problem is when he randomly decides not to do the explosion. This, it goes without saying, took the most attempts of any boss across this whole run. I tried some different approaches, including using a frost-infused scythe, but it didn't make too much difference. I think I need to change some things up. I went and grabbed the last 2 Scadu Tree fragments I hadn't got. I also went and grabbed the Perfumer's Cookbook too, as well as some perfume bottles, so I could make Blood Boil aromatics. It's a potential replacement from Flame Grant Me Strength that deals 10% more damage at the cost of taking 30% more damage myself. But there was one other boost I wanted to grab. I went to get the Greater Potentates Cookbook too and some Furnace Visages. I went and woke up this Furnace Golem, blasted him down and then grabbed the Blood-Sucking Cracked Tear. This tear drains my health but gives me a 20% damage buff, kinda like a tier version of Power Within. I got up to Scadu Tree level 18 now, and then also upgraded the Finger Seal as apparently this does a further damage to Blood Flame Blade by a tiny amount. A weird thing happened as well. Some random naked green guy appeared and dropped the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia Talisman. This gives about a 3% extra boost compared to the Winged Sword Insignia, so not huge, but again, every little helps. Thank you, random naked green guy I never met in my entire life. Finally, I went to Respec and took all the points out of Mind, Dex, Faith and Arcane and put them all into Strength, giving myself 99 Strength with Godric's Great Rune. With this setup, using everything I just mentioned except the Blood Boil Aromatic which I was hesitant to use, we did a lot more damage, and 2 spinning weapons in relatively quick succession was enough to bring him to phase 2. Even the first one at the start of phase 2 did a lot, but I also take a lot more damage. At this point, either he dies quick or I die quick. So far it's been me, but after a few more attempts, this happened. After watching the very underwhelming cutscene, I can grab the Obsidian Lamina from Sir Ansbach, the final scythe in the game. This thing requires some arcane to wield, so I went to grab the Outer God's Heirloom to wield it and then upgraded it to plus 10. I then respect again to give the scythe some high damage, which we'll need because I saved a super hard boss to test these on. After spending a bit of time chilling with my jar friends, I went and became Elden Lord to finish the run. I've been Babza Jr., thanks for watching and ciao for now.